That works for me, man.
Yeah, me too. So I'm here with Duane Forrester, who I met in, I think the first time I went to Seattle. Uh, the only thing I remember from that trip is that Kurt Cobain's grave was next to Jimi Hendrix's.
Yes.
And Rand Fishkin had a shitty office at the time. He was just like starting to build up moss or something. I went to visit him. I met with his mom and his dad. His dad was brilliant. He kind of works in
Yeah.
Boeing factories, or did at the time, kind of fixing things so that they're more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met with you, which was also great. And at the time you were doing something at Bing, Webmaster Tools or something.
Yes.
When did you leave that position?
It's been, I think this will be my 6th year away from Bing Webmaster Tools. But I still stay in touch with the team. We still email and back and forth and share ideas and whatnot.
Yeah. And are you? Are you involved in one way or another with the tool, or
not in direct ways? I mean, obviously, I don't work for Bing Webmaster Tools, and I don't control those things. But it's kind of like working for the CIA. You don't really get out. Turns out, right? Yeah, I still have regular conversations with folks at Microsoft in a number of different areas. We'll catch up. They'll bounce ideas off me. The Bing Webmaster Tools, I keep in touch with the team that's there. I'll answer random questions for them. I'll participate in surveys and things like that. They do a really good job of outreach. And I think what's important to understand is the outreach has to be limited. Obviously, they don't have a ton of people, so they can't be asking thousands of people for their opinions and ideas on things. But they do a pretty good job. Like, I don't get copied on everything, and that means someone else is being brought in that time to answer questions for them. So that stuff's always going on in the background, and it kind of helps inform, adding new data, expanding data, updating tools, the layout, navigation, all of it. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I used to be on the Bing advertising advisory, but the global advisory board.
Yeah.
And I remember I kept being sent stuff, like T-shirts and things like that. And they always put me in large, which is not large enough.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to pay customs because it was like they sent it as a gift.
Exactly.
But it ended to be quite costly. But that was fun, and I loved being on those meetings. I was on meetings talking about what they could do better and like the development of the advertising part. And that actually interesting to see how a company like Microsoft works and being a part of that. Yeah. That was brilliant. And then after Seattle, you came to Iceland like 2 years later.
It was just a little under 2 years. You'd invited me out to RIMC, and that was an extraordinary event to attend. And that idea of bringing people from Europe and North America together and talking about the common topics and how they're being addressed, consumer behavior and all of that. I thought that was fantastic, right? Met a lot of great people I knew from the industry in the United States, because it was easy for us to all go to conferences. But then people I'd only known by name from Europe, and it was fantastic. So
I spoke recently to Bill Hunt, with Bill Hunt, and we had kind of a similar kind of talk about this, is that these like early days SES conferences, and then SMX, and how it all kind of morphed, PubCon and so on, and the smaller ones, like the way that Brighton used to be, maybe now is like a couple of thousand people coming to Brighton. And I think there are a couple of conferences out there that still have that kind of closeness, where people can meet, spend the weekend together, and kind of hash things out, talk about stuff. And that's what I really like. This is the first year where we're not doing RIMC since 2004, at least in the version that we are used to, because of COVID and so on. So we'll see where that goes. But another thing which I found always interesting about you is that you're a keen collector of guitars, and you make your own.
I do, yes. My hobby is building guitars. So I have a small shop here at my home in Southern California, and when I am done for the day, or it's a weekend or a holiday, you will find me out there turning very expensive pieces of wood into sawdust, and sometimes ending up with a guitar in the end.
Yeah, I still have a kit that you recommended I'd buy, and I haven't assembled it yet, so it's still there.
I'm telling you, it will change your perspective on life. It's a very Zen thing. It taps into, for me, it does both left brain, right brain, because there's like last night, I spent 2 hours. I had to gouge a hole in a piece of walnut so a hard piece of hardware would fit onto the guitar. When you put the control in, it wasn't deep enough inside the body, so I needed to carve a little U shape in the wood. Of course, this is dangerous because you're also talking about the back of the guitar, and if you put a hole in that, your guitar is ruined. So I spent a lot of time taking 1/100th of a millimeter measurements of the thickness of the guitar and the thickness of where the interior was in multiple spots, so that I could draw it out on a map and do all the math. So I knew how many millimeters I could go deep before it was too deep. And then sitting there with a hand chisel, very gently tapping away at the wood, taking pieces out, and then with my Dremel with fine pieces and everything. I got it all done. It was great, but it was like 2 hours gone just like that to make a hole about 13 millimeters deep and 20 millimeters wide.
But still, though, the satisfaction of
absolutely. Like when I shut the shop down last night, like I felt like I'd accomplished something, you know? And if you looked at what my work was, you would think that was nothing. In fact, the way I left it on the bench, you couldn't tell anything was done because it was the way it was supposed to be. And so, you know, it's like early on, I had a few years ago when I started this, I had a whole lot of times when I was frustrated thinking, I should be better than this. And it's just supposed to go together. And this screw goes here and this thing goes here and it's all good. And now I realize there's no timeline for this. So even if I say I will finish something this weekend, I will probably not finish it that weekend. It will take more time, and I have to allow that time. And so it helps with my patience. It helps with creativity. It helps with problem solving. All of these types of things are in use. And then there's just the sheer mathematics and science of it all as well. That appeals to me.
You actually just spent your birthday last year in Iceland with one of the foremost guitar smiths in the world, or in Europe, or in Iceland at least. Gunnar, how was that?
Let me be clear, okay? Gunnar is one of the best on planet Earth, full stop. There's no need to qualify this with a continent or an island or a region. He is simply one of the best. It was actually you and Olafur who recommended that I track him down. And I'd heard of him, but I got the introduction, told him I was coming, and I happened to be there on my birthday, and I said, you know, I want to go spend some time with you at your shop. And I went down, he let me take videos, we hung out. A couple of people came by and they jammed, and it was just it was the perfect experience for what I wanted. And being able to see his creativity and how he builds and the detail that he puts in, I still have ideas from talking with him that I'm working into my current builds right now, and things I will do in the future. And that kind of inspiration it's absolutely priceless. It's incredible. And now, if he and his band are coming to the United States, look, if they're going to be anywhere I can go, I'll go there and say hello. You know, if I have a choice of places to go in the world again, when that happens, Iceland is right back at the top of my list of got to go back. We love it there. So in fact,
go on.
I was going to say maybe we'll just move there. That's all. We'll just. That's
If you move there, I'm moving back.
Okay.
But when you're building guitars, and so again, so that kit that I have, every time I see it, I smile and I think about you. Just so you know, like, and I think positively about you. So what, like,
Excellent.
when you're putting kits together, what is it that you what are you looking for? Like, what type of pickups, what type of wood, what is it that you're looking for?
Yeah. So I'm always looking for things that are a bit different, right? I actually don't build kits. I have a shop here in Southern California. The owner is, and it's not my shop, it's another shop about 5 minutes from my house. The owner is a gentleman who used to work for Fender. He's worked with ZZ Top. He's worked with Lindsey Buckingham, Fleetwood Mac, like all of these people, built guitars for them. Daryl Jones from the Rolling Stones, like all of this. And he's the guy who ultimately is teaching me how to build guitars properly. And so I will take something from my shop, I'll go down and I'll go, "Hey, John, look at this." And he'll look at it, and in 4 seconds, he will say, "That's wrong, that's wrong, that's not standard. Here, let me show you how to fix it." And then we go into his shop and he shows me how to fix it. And then I know the difference. So now I'm starting to learn what those details are and being able to see them on site. And so I'm looking for a lot of different things. Like, I want repeatability. So John has a CNC machine at his workshop, and that's what we use to carve out the bodies and to carve out necks. So every time you get exactly what you want and it's perfect. And then, I can screw it up finishing it. But for pickups, I'm always looking for boutique builders. I build my own pickups from time to time. I have all the equipment and the supplies. It's very interesting, but somewhat frustrating process. The wire that's used is thinner than a human hair and not nearly as strong. So when you turn the machine on, it runs through your fingertips. And if you hold it too tight, it rips. You have to start over. So you may be 9,000 wraps into your 10,000, and you have to throw all that copper away and start over. And you may, I've had this happen a couple times. The creases on your finger joints, if the wire slips in there, it's so small that you can't hold it, and the whole pickup just fluffs up, and you just get a ball like that instantly of wire, and you can't untangle that. So I tend to use other people who do that, and I buy my pickups from them. Companies like TV Jones is a fairly large company. Another company is Lawler. I use a guy in Minneapolis called Revel Custom Pickups. Jesse Revel is his name. And I can just call up Jesse and say, "Hey, this is the kind of sound that I want. I like blues and country, so I tend to like pickups that sound that way." And, I'll say, "This is what I want." And he'll go do something and then ship it to me. And, it's like, "Yeah, that's what I want." Or, "No, I want a little deeper or a little more high end." And we just kind of go back and forth. But it's, I have the latest guitar on my counter right now. I'm working with a set of Seymour Duncans. They're, kind of industry standard, fairly well known.
But still is a good pickup.
Yeah, they're good. I tend to go with pickups that are coming from smaller manufacturers who are not as well known, but are known to be excellent at what they do. And so if you like what they do, you will love their pickups. Seymour Duncans are more middle of the road. They're very appealing to everyone. What I do love about Seymour Duncans is everything you get from them. They're so professional. Everything that you get from them is documented and detailed and easy to work with. And the wiring diagram is, you have it right there in your hand when you open the box, and you have options. You can do it one way, way A, B, C, or D, however you want it to sound. All of that is built in. So I'll build a large number of options.
But I have a final question for you, but one more before we go into something else.
Okay.
So how many guitars do you have?
We have 6 on display. I've got 4 in my garage that I have for sale for my personal collection, and I've built 9. Yeah, I've built 9 so far. 1 of which I've sold, and the rest 3 of them I have on display here in the house. I haven't finished them. I still need to do a setup on them, and once I do the setup, then I can ship them off to someone. But I also haven't marketed them. I haven't done any advertising, And so I feel like there's a phase. I want to have 7 or 8 guitars done, update the website with everything, then do some Instagram advertising, Facebook advertising, kind of go from there.
Yeah. And like a final question around the guitars, Gibson or Fender?
Oh, Fender, all the way, Fender. Absolutely, Fender. I have owned Gibsons. They're lovely guitars.
Yeah.
I've sold every Gibson that I own, and I own Fenders. I like them, and I think that's influenced though by my proximity to someone who used to work for Fender and used to work with Leo Fender, and having all of that institutional knowledge being passed on to me. I'm sure I would, it would influence me if I had that from the Gibson side. I would have that. But it's personal preference. I love Telecasters. They're my favorite guitar. And so that's it.
So Telecaster in a way is kind of in the middle there.
It totally is. It is. It's known as the working man's guitar. It's very simple. It's very honest. And it's it has a range. It does this to this very well. It doesn't go beyond that. If you want to go beyond that, you need a Stratocaster because it'll go do all of that. But yeah, I love them.
Okay, so brilliant. Yeah, Yext.
Yeah.
What's happening? So you leave Microsoft and you do a couple of things, and now you're at Yext. Are you a partner, or what? How does it work?
So my title is VP of Industry Insights, and what I do there is kind of like this. Typically, I will speak at conferences. I spend a lot of time on client calls with Fortune 500 companies, where I'll get brought in to meet with their digital team, listen to their ideas, give them guidance or advice on that, help them align things. I will help them understand the state of the industry and why the search engines are moving in the direction they're moving in. You can imagine if you're an SEO, and lots of SEOs are in this position. If an SEO knew what would make a customer respond more positively, then they would build a website in that direction, obviously. And that's what the search engines are trying to figure out. When I worked at Bing, it was all about intent. It was all about understanding why you're doing what you're doing as a consumer. And Google has the same focus, has had that focus for years. If we can understand why you're doing it, then we can position products, tools, information, advertising that is much more effective. And that's what businesses should be focusing on today, is understanding the intent and then building the right answer to meet that intent at the moment. And so I spend a lot of time talking through those things with companies, helping them understand why that's important. And then kind of like, because I'm a third party, I look at their website differently. And I look at it from the perspective of an SEO. And I come into a meeting, I've already gone in and seen that their site search has failed. I've already gone in and seen that, I can get to the product from this direction, but not this direction. So their navigation is broken. I've already come in and found that only part of their site is secure. I've come in and found that, only a part of the site is mobile friendly, and so on. And then I talk to them about that and how it has to be a holistic approach. And there are no longer, you don't get to walk into a meeting with your executive at any of these companies and say, this is the year of keyword research and this is the year of content. No, this is the minute of keyword research matched with a minute of content creation, matched with a minute of getting structured data implemented, because everything has to move forward in that year. And if you don't do it all, and one of your competitors gets their mix just a little bit better balanced, they move forward and you don't. So this is what I spend my time doing.
And is Yext, is it an agency? What is it? Is it a technology?
So Yext is a platform. We have a very limited scope of doing work for clients. We can help clients use Yext. We are not a consultancy. We are not an agency. We don't just, go out there and do all the work for you. We do have a white glove program, but it's very limited in scope. And, it's something that gets added on kind of after the fact. Almost every one of our clients already has all of the people to do the work. So they don't need us to be doing that work for them. But you use our platform for a variety of things. So first and foremost among those would be if you have a site search. Most websites still have site search today. And if you're looking at this program, it can give you a lot of information about what your consumer intent is. So someone comes to your website, let's say they come from Google, they land on your website. Maybe they find what they want, maybe they don't. They'll go to the site search box, they'll type their question in there. And in most cases, that fails. And then they bounce back to Google and they go to another website, but they don't come back to you. So we have a product that actually takes that answer or takes that site search program and makes it an AI powered experience. It's all based on machine learning. We help you build your knowledge graph from your website, and it will then power all of those answers. A great example of this is we partnered, I don't know, maybe 4 weeks ago now, with the state of New Jersey to build out a COVID-19 answers hub for them, an information hub. Everything about the state of New Jersey related to COVID in any way, the number of cases, the number of recoveries, testing centers, self-testing, any and all scientific information, jobs, how jobs are affected, jobs that are available, stay-at-home orders, community information, absolutely everything went into building their knowledge graph. And now when you go and ask for information related to COVID-19 for the state of New Jersey, that information hub is the #1 result, and everyone goes in and gets all the answers they need in that experience in one location. So that's the kind of site search component of what we power and provide. We also can do pages. The product we have called Pages, which is if you don't have an actual page for a product or a service, we can stand that up for you. So it's like you launching a page, but it's us powering that experience. And then, that's all mobile friendly. It's all optimized for search. It's all structured data marked up. It's everything. And then of course, there's what we started with over a decade ago, which is a listings product. And that's, geared more toward local listings. So there's quite a bit there at this point. But agency, no. Platform, absolutely.
Okay. And I can see here on the list of the clients, Denny's, Ben & Jerry's, Kiehl's. So a lot of nice brands.
Yeah, a lot of big brands. Obviously in any list like that, you're showcasing, the biggest brands, the household names. But what doesn't get showcased in there is the hundreds and hundreds of mid-market and SMBs that, have stepped up and said, we're going to go ahead and use the platform. So it's been amazing. The company went public just over 3 years ago now. It was 3 years ago in April, actually just 3 years ago. And it's been a rocket ship ride ever since then. It's been extraordinary watching the growth.
And where are you based out of?
Well, the headquarters is in New York, but I was just going to say, last count, I think we have offices now in, it's either 10 or 13 countries. It's amazing. Japan, China, Germany, Paris, so France. We've got an office in Amsterdam now, London. We've got Chicago. We've got San Francisco. It's extraordinary. But of course, now every single person in our company is now remote because nobody is going to the office in New York City. We have a few people in there, but it's infrastructure and IT people and things like that have to be monitored in location. But we just said, okay, everybody go work from home. We'll equip you to work from home. And so global footprint, to be sure.
Absolutely. It's interesting concept. Are you your background? What is that? Is that where you're now? Or?
No, this is obviously we're using Zoom, right? So we get to play around with this. The background that I've chosen here is an area of the Anzo Borrego Desert, which is just a little bit east of San Diego in Southern California. So to get to this location from my house would be, I don't know, maybe a 3-hour drive.
Okay.
And I could be there. So it's not close, but it's not far. You could certainly drive down, explore, and come back in the same day. But it really depends on traffic. Crazy
Are you?
year.
I mean, so yeah. Sorry, I was just been watching that mountain ridge there in the back. So are you? So from Bing to Yext and anything there between, and on the Yext website, you say that there has been a major change in search engines over the past 20 years. So what are the things that you see, like you talk about intent and so on, but and I can see that the services that you have is about voice also. Where do you think the next thing is happening, like this next shiny bright object? Let's call it that for now.
So here's the thing. I think we're about ready to repolish some old objects, but for new purposes.
Yeah.
So, people often ask, I think like every year we end up with this question in our industry, right? Like, is SEO dying and whatever else? And it's like, you know what? No, this doesn't die. This doesn't go away. It's always going to be important. You have to manage the technical aspects of a website. But we really have to get businesses to the point, especially right now. If you think about what's happening around the world with COVID, it is bringing forward this this desire to have answers to questions in the most incredible way. Like as a consumer, if I'm asking a question that's related to my health, I expect an answer. I expect it to be accurate, and I expect it to get it now, not having to search for it. And then once I have it, I expect that answer to be authoritative, expert, and trustworthy. So the whole EAT thing from Google, right? But from the consumer's perspective, they don't understand EAT. They just want to trust the answer they have. And if they have to go looking, when you didn't answer their question and they left to go look for it, they lose trust in you and they gain trust somewhere else. So we're going to see, I think, on the other side of COVID, we're going to see a real focus on reviews and managing all of that. Like right now, I hear this from clients all the time, right? And I'm sure everybody listening hears this, oh yeah, no, it takes a lot of time. Or, oh yeah, I don't like to engage with the negative ones. You know what? Not a choice. You have to touch 80% of your reviews, positive and negative. You have to answer these. If you don't, and your competitor does, they're the better answer. And as we continue to move forward, we see technology shrinking our access to information, meaning we went from large desktop computers to smaller monitors on our laptops to tablets. And now most of our consumption is on our phone, a very limited footprint that we can see information on. So we're living in the age of what I refer to as the splinter net. And what that means is we have an answer that is deemed to be the right answer, and it's good enough for 90% of the people. If that is the case, Google and Bing and every search engine has the answer they need for the question. They don't need any others. So it doesn't matter how well you do your structured data. It doesn't matter how well you write your content. It doesn't matter anything else, because you're only on par with the answer they've already been satisfied with. And they've tested that answer with searchers millions of times, and they see that searchers are satisfied with the answer. I mean, let's just say, I'm trying to think of a question that only has one answer. Okay, we'll use the weather. What is the temperature outside? Okay, there's only one answer to that. It's whatever the temperature is outside. Now, the number might vary depending on your testing station, your equipment, and whatever else, okay? But the difference between 11 degrees Celsius and 12 degrees Celsius is not that big a deal. The answer is what it is. So we don't need 200 websites focusing on weather. What the consumer wants is the answer. Nothing less, nothing more. Tell me what it is. And the consumer doesn't actually care if it's 11 degrees Celsius or 11 or 12 degrees Celsius. Either one of those tells them wear a light jacket. That's fine. So as more of that expectation filters across everything we do in our lives, what we find is that the answer that becomes the featured snippet on the top of a mobile result or is spoken out loud will be enough for the vast majority of instances. It'll start with big things like, the temperature outside, time of day in Oslo, things like this. And then it'll migrate out to the smaller areas, the longer tail things, where fewer people have input, But over time, the search engine gains confidence that the answer they have is the one that satisfies the most. So then suddenly areas where we don't see featured snippets today start having featured snippets. And when that becomes the case, now it becomes a game of, okay, so you've done your structured data, you've written your content the right way. How do you differentiate? You know, John Mueller just did a video, I think this week or maybe last week, talking about how if your content is different and unique, that can help you. And I didn't go through the whole thing, but I completely support this statement on its face. I mean, if you have an e-commerce website, you do not use the same product name and description and information that every other e-commerce site uses. You have to use it because it's factual and it's accurate. But after that, you have to determine why yours is different and how you differentiate your page, how you make it more useful and a better answer for the customer. And you'll do that by things like, if the way you plan all this is fairly straightforward. The name of the author is escaping me right now, but the book is Internet Marketing in an Hour a Day. It's a fairly old book now. It's like 5 or 6 years old. But the idea in the book was that you would create a spreadsheet, you put all your URLs in the line in the spreadsheet, and you would put a dollar figure next to every URL. So you would know that product A gets you $10, product B gets you $9, and so on. And then you resort that entire spreadsheet by the dollar values. Now you understand your website based on the revenue it generates. So when you have that view, now you have a prioritized list of what to optimize and what to work on. Because not every product on an e-commerce website can be individualized. But your top 100 money makers, those are the ones that you want to focus on and create the unique content around and build out. And if they then turn out to be perennials, where every year they generate revenue, you can do more and more of those because every year you will make more and more. So eventually 100 unique products and descriptions become 200, 300, 400. And your website becomes known as the site that goes farther, that answers the questions more thoroughly, that gives more details. I recently sat in, recently, I say that, January, my last trip, I sat in, it's a Fortune 100 retail company here in the United States, and I sat in a meeting with them, and they said, you know, how do we differentiate? And I said, what you need to do is you need to start taking products out of boxes and giving me actual measurements, not the measurements that are the shipping measurements for the size of the box that it's packed in. Because if I have a shelf in my office and I want to put a speaker on that shelf and I have exactly 40 centimeters, let's call that, 10 inches of clearance, and you tell me that your shipping box is 12 inches, well, then I will think, well, based on those measurements, the speaker doesn't fit. But what we find out in real life is that the speaker itself is actually only 9 inches high, but then it's wrapped in styrofoam that's an inch thick all around it. So you have to take that step of telling me what the actual product is like for my life. And I can almost guarantee you the first business that does that wins the answer every time, because then they get reviews from people coming back saying, you gave me exactly what I wanted. It fits perfectly. It exceeds my expectations. And at that point, if we're talking about speakers, it kind of doesn't even matter what it sounds like, because they love everything else so much, they'll tell themselves they love how it sounds. So
you kind of given me two answers to the next question, which kind of is the final question. People who are now stuck at home, having to work from home, and are trying to prioritize their SEO, for that matter, or how to manage a website. So you're giving me one, which is take all your URLs, prioritize them based upon income or your profitability of the product, and then take those top 10, 50, 100, or whatever, and optimize them. And then take the same products and review the content around them and make sure that you're answering all the questions that come up by actually writing and giving more accurate information.
So I'm going to expand on that second one a little bit, right? Because there's a real opportunity here. So you want to think about everything you can. Okay. Yeah. So think about when you bought your phone.
Yeah.
When you bought your phone, you needed a case for it.
Yeah.
Think of everything you needed to understand in order to buy that case. It's pretty simple for a phone, right? This
Yeah.
is an iPhone X, so I needed cases that fit an iPhone X.
Yeah.
That was it. But when you're buying a set of speakers for your office, you need dimensions, you need weight, you
Yeah.
need how they're powered, if they're unpowered or they're powered. You need all of this information. So you will think of a long list of questions and you will build out the answers for those. Then you're going to ask coworkers, you're going to ask other people in your company that you don't work directly with, you're going to ask family or friends even. What would they ask about it? And you're going to capture all that. Then you're going to start looking into your site search on your website, and you're going to try to figure out, are people asking questions about this? And if they are, what words are they using?
Yeah.
And once you have all of that, you should be able to have anywhere, I'm going to say conservatively, 20 questions for a product, possibly even up to 100, if depending on the product, right? You don't have to answer everything. What it does is it ensures you will never have writer's block on content. Because if you only answer 20 of 100 questions and you produce all that content, you put it on your website, you've got 80 more that you can go through to add over time. Yeah. And so you will constantly be able to add to that. So diving deep into that area, that site search area, to try to understand what someone's intent is. You may do keyword research and be thinking, oh yeah, everybody's looking for this speaker. Everybody wants to know dimensions. Well, what it turns out they're actually looking for is they're looking for reliability information as well. But they're not asking that in enough volume for Google to capture it. But when they come to your website and they see that you have a 4.5 out of 5-star rating on it, you might find 4 or 5 people asking the question, how long does this speaker last? So that they're talking about might be related to the warranty. It might be related to, I see that you've done a review on this and you tell me you've had the speaker for a long time. How long is a long time? Is a long time 4 months? Is a long time 5 years? You know, and so there may be other ideas that you can bring forward to better explain this. And look, if you ask one question and you provide one answer and that sells another product for you, it was worth the 5 minutes of your time to figure out the question and answer.
Or half an hour.
So,
but that actually, and then maybe the third one then is that if you then are a little bit clever the way you take that data and you structure it properly, it can actually become something beautiful on the Google results. So it can actually materialize differently than you're used to, and your website might become a part of something bigger.
So think of this. Think of somebody who's in the featured snippet spot and you want the featured snippet spot. Look at their answer, find all the holes and the missing blanks, fill all of those in, and you now have a better answer than they do.
Yeah, okay.
That's a matter of time, and Google takes you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. Gotten 3 great tips from you. Brilliant, thank you. Spoke about one of my favorite things, guitars, in Iceland. 2 of my favorite things, actually.
There we go.
Been gone through a little bit how we met the first time. It's been brilliant. And been interesting. And as with all my friends who I met through this industry, I have my eye on them on Facebook, and it's great to see. Like you once in a while share pictures from your shop, and that's actually absolutely brilliant. Just thank you for doing this. Let's roll this out. I need to work it a little bit, and then I'll roll it out, and then I'll ping you. But I'll be in contact before.
That works for me, Kristjan. I appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
Yeah, same to you. And have a good day. It's early morning your time.
Yeah, it's pretty early here, so it's I think time to walk dogs and get things done before the heat of the day.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. Be well, man. Stay safe.
Yeah. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.